Welcome to the Trinity Reformed Church podcast. Sunday School by Larson Hicks on January 24th, Lord's Day service.
Okay, so in no particular order, we'll just kind of go through some thoughts on singing, and then we'll just do some singing. So that's kind of my aim this morning, is to kind of communicate my own perspective, and I'd say I think the rest of the leadership would agree with this general perspective on music and on singing, and give you guys some practical tips and tricks and suggestions, and then I'd love to sing as many songs as we can and try to introduce actually a lot of new stuff. So hopefully we can add to our repertoire. One of the things that we've tried to, you definitely want a hymnal. If you don't have one, send a kid to go get you a stack of hymnals. But one of the things that we've tried to do is this is obviously a huge hymnal that has, probably 700 or 800 hymns in it. But we've tried to be patient about learning new stuff and incorporating new stuff, mostly just because we want to be able to sing boldly, cheerfully, and skillfully. And it's hard when all of us are coming from different backgrounds, different churches that had different, songs. It's just hard to pick up a lot of new stuff. And so we've tried to be a little bit more repetitive, so we can drive it home. But as we become more skilled at singing, we hope to kind of pick up the pace of new stuff that we're learning. So first, I'll talk a little bit about how we want to sing at TRC. So one is loud, right? I mean that's something we talk a lot about, but we want to sing loudly. Scripture talks about this, and I'll say, you guys saw the email that somebody sent us after worshiping with us. It makes a big impression. Even at the conference, I heard over and over and over, people came up to me and said, it was just so amazing, such a blessing to just hear all that loud singing. A lot of folks haven't been in churches with robust singing in a long time, and it's funny to me, but we are built to sing and to worship, and when we're doing it, it connects with us on a spiritual level. It's something that we're designed for. So it's no surprise that when people actually get to experience it for maybe the first time or first time in a long time, they're impressed by it. So we want to sing loudly. There's a way to go overboard, absolutely, on singing loud. So it's not yelling. It's not just screaming. It needs to be singing, which is different from screaming. I hope I don't have to make that distinction. Certainly, if you're going to err on one side or the other, I'd say err on the screaming side. I'd rather you be loud than mumbling. But there's certainly a way to go overboard. I think a lot of the sacred harp singers, people who go and partake in those, will tell you sometimes that can become a thing. Like they're competing to be who's the loudest, and it kind of gets a little overboard. We also want to sing joyfully and cheerfully, right? And one of these, the way I think we address the cheerful and joyful piece is it's somewhat in song selection, but it's also in how we sing. It's in the tempo, I'd say. Tempo is probably the best way to affect that. There are certainly songs in this book that are meant to be sung slowly, they're meant to be more sad and dark. But by and large, I'd say most of the hymns in this hymnal are designed to be sung in a peppy, joyful, triumphant way, and I don't know why so many churches have just slowed things down. Maybe maybe the theory is that it's more reverent to be slow, perhaps. I'm not sure what the thinking is there, but you take a song like Holy, 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 and there are a lot of, which is, as far as I'm concerned, a really joyful, peppy, upbeat song. Holy, holy, holy. I mean, it's like a bar song almost. And it is. And actually, there are a lot of songs in here that were bar songs that Christians snagged the tune and did a mashup. It's a very Christian, very Protestant thing to do. But they'll take a song like that and turn it into like a funeral dirge, or it's like, holy, 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 and it's like, what are we doing? Are we going down into the depths of depression here, or are we ascending into heaven with the angels and the saints to worship God? So definitely pace is something that we're always trying to focus on. So something you can do in your homes when you're singing is try to kick up the pace a little bit. Again, if you're going to err on one side, I would err on the side of singing fast than slow, because I think it's a more it gets at more of the spirit of worship that we want to have, the tone and the vibe. The other thing is skillfully. So we want to sing skillfully. So it's not enough, I don't think, for us to settle for singing or singing loudly. But I think, it says in Scripture to sing skillfully. And I think it's something we should aspire to. We should aspire to sound good. And as you improve in your singing, you should be hitting the notes more often than not. You should be, vibrato is a thing. So vibrato, like if you're playing a guitar, you wiggle your finger, when you play a note, or on a violin, and it gives it that you can't do it on a piano. That's one of the lame things about pianos. You can't do vibrato. You can fake it with like an organ or something, like an electric organ. But you can do that with your voice. And so there's just straight singing, ah, and then there's vibrato, ah. You kind of, that wasn't a very good example. But you use your diaphragm, which is something we'll talk about, to force to give your breath, to kind of modulate it so that it comes out with more of a pleasant vibrato. That's something you can go overboard on too, and can get really distracting, and that's the other side of singing skillfully. So we've all grown up with pop music. You okay there, Jen? I knocked him off his feet. This is awesome. So one of we've all grown up with pop music, and we've also, a lot of us grew up with Disney, right? And those end up being very influential in how we think singing should sound. And I'd say both are pretty terrible things to imitate when you're singing in worship. So with pop music, you're typically a pop musician is a performer who wants to bring glory to themselves, wants to bring attention to themselves, and wants to set themselves apart. They're a brand. They want to have a unique, distinct sound. And so you think of like someone like Bob Dylan, right? Nobody's got a voice like Bob Dylan, right? We can all agree to that. And the same goes for, most pop musicians are trying to set themselves up to where you hear their voice on the radio and you go, I know who that is. It's Britney Spears, or that's whoever. The problem with that in worship is that that's not what we're doing in worship. We're trying to join together corporately and with one voice worship the Lord. And so if we've got a bunch of people who are trying to sound like Bob Dylan or Tom Petty or Waylon Jennings or whatever, I mean, it's funny. You've probably seen these they'll do these like benefit concerts where you'll have like 15, country musicians or blues musicians or whatever on the stage all singing. And it usually just sounds terrible. I mean, it usually just sounds awful because it's like they're all trying to do their own thing. and they're all, and it's just like this cacophony of, it's like it becomes dissonant more than it's pleasant, because it's just like, I'd love to see each of you individually because you're all cool, but together you guys aren't. This isn't something you guys are good at. So that's something to think about. So a couple like practical things, like I think about in country and also in Disney. If you listen to a lot of Disney tunes, I was trying to find an example, a good example, and you can hear it all the time, but you get a lot of sliding into notes and sliding out of notes. So instead of hitting the note where it is, so like a mighty fortress, where you're trying to hit each of the notes, it's like a mighty fortress is. You kind of slide into it. That's a bad example, but that's a thing that you don't realize until you're paying attention that you're doing. If that's your only influence and you're imitating that. So imitation is a really powerful tool in learning, and I'd say especially here. So one of the things when you're thinking about how to sing in worship, imitate. If you're going to imitate something, imitate more like an opera singer, maybe than a pop singer. So the reason for that is an opera singer actually has a really well-trained. They have to sing for a really long time, and they have to sing very loudly. And that, if you're singing like Bob Dylan, it'll just shred your vocal cords. Just completely. If Bob Dylan didn't have a microphone right here, that would just shred his vocal cords, and he wouldn't be able to do it. An opera singer is singing from a different part of their. So your head and your throat and your mouth and your tongue and your lips and your teeth, they're all part of this complex instrument. Your diaphragm, which is this muscle that's underneath your lungs, that's right here, that you can contract and expand. All of these are part of this complicated instrument, which is the human voice. And opera singers are dialed into using that instrument at its best. So again, like listen to Bob Dylan. So if I'm imitating Bob Dylan, it's going to sound something like, "A mighty for." Yeah, it's like all you can hear. It's all in the nose. And of course, pop singers want to sound unique, so they'll put a little rasp on it, and they'll make it really breathy, so it sounds sultry or whatever. All those things are bad for corporate worship, and oftentimes are bad for singing. An opera singer, you think of "Almighty Fortress," like that sounds silly, but that again, we're talking about if you're going to err on one side, err on that side, because when you're you're opening your mouth, you're engaging this part of your diaphragm. You're getting your voice is going more from your chest and less from your throat and your nose. So those are things to think about. Something a vocal coach told me once was to try to sing almost like out of your head. Like imagine your and that's when I'm imitating an opera singer. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm trying to kind of get it to come out here, versus all right here. And you can feel it too. You can feel a different feeling in your throat when you're singing from your throat versus when you're singing more from your head and from your diaphragm. So imitate opera singers. Don't imitate Disney or pop musicians. So those are kind of some things about just how we want to sing. Some practical tips to add to these things. So posture is really important. It just helps. If you're slumped over and you're down like this, you're not giving yourself the maximum capacity in your lungs to be able to really force air out. You're cramping your vocal cord style by bending your neck. So posture, this is a simple tip, but when you're singing, if you put this right here, you're kind of blocking the noise from coming out. So, just tilt it down a little bit, get it right here instead of right here. just a little tip to kind of help your singing project better. Talked about imitating an opera person. So singing from, I've mentioned the diaphragm thing a bunch, and I don't know if I've got a really good tip for you there, other than if you're not cognizant of the diaphragm thing, put your hand right here when you're singing, and see if you can tighten that up. And there's really what it is. It's kind of like bellows, it's like on a bagpipe, like the arm that's squeezing the bag. Your lungs are basically bags of air. And the diaphragm can kind of push it faster or slower, and that helps you, just gives you more control when you're singing. So kind of focusing on that, and you don't really engage that when you're not projecting. So if you're not projecting and singing loudly and doing the kind of opera thing, then you really don't engage this. It's just all kind of nose and throat singing. So that's just some kind of tips about how we're trying to sing. Some tips about, practical tips about singing. Let's talk really quick about notes. So just in your contus, we'll open up to. Why don't we open up to 412? Oh, the deep, deep love of Jesus, and we can talk about the different notes and what they mean. So pitch is the word that to define the how high or low the sound is, or the frequency of the vibrations is technically what's going on there. And so higher pitch is like it sounds. So you've got low and high, low, high. So conveniently on a page of music, low is further down on the page towards the bottom of the page, and high is further up. So I don't really read music. I can if you force me, I can come up with the notes, but that's not a part of my brain that's engaged when I'm singing. Personally, I'm not going, oh, there's that G note I need to hit. Shape note singing is another technique that is designed to try to help you think about the gaps between the notes. We don't do that. I think it's actually been studied and proven to not actually be helpful. So I think don't tell that to the shape note singers, because they love it. But basically, for me, it's about repetition and hearing it. I hear the song once, and then following the notes really helps me to remember. This part goes up a little bit, this part goes down, and it just helps me stay on track on a song I'm not super familiar with. Or if I'm trying to figure out the harmony part, again, I can look at that to try to find my way on it. But that's pitch. So when it goes up, so oh the deep, oh the it goes up, deep deep love. Okay, so the line I'm singing, by the way, unless it designates otherwise, the melody, the part that we all sing, is the very highest set of notes. So I know it looks like just a jumble of notes on this page, but you've got the treble clef up top and the bass clef on the bottom, and the treble is the ladies' parts of the song, and the bass is the men's parts. So high low, right? Unless otherwise specified, the tenor, or excuse me, the melody of the song, the part that we all sing, we all default to, if we're not singing in parts, is going to be the very top one. It's the soprano line. So the sopranos, it's kind of like the violins in an orchestra. They always get the cool part. They always get the kind of melody, and then the violas and the cellos get the kind of supporting stuff. So it's the same way. It's because women are beautiful, and we want to glorify them. So if you're not trying to sing the tenor part, then head there to the very top set of notes, and that's where you can follow along as you're singing to help remind yourself of, does this part go up or down? So that top set of notes. The other thing that the notes indicate is duration. So how long you hold a note. You'll see that this first line, if we go across the top, it's got a number of interesting things. So it's got quarter notes. So the duration is really just fractions. So you've got whole notes, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes, and you've got other subdivisions of that. But if you look at the bass and the tenor on the first line. For the first two stanzas, a stanza is a chunk that has a vertical line in it. So, "Oh, the deep, deep" is the first stanza. You can see that line in the measure, which is the set of lines. You can see the vertical line. That first stanza, all of those for the tenor and the bass, all of those notes are quarter notes. So they have a staff on them and they've got a filled-in circle. So the tenor part is, "Oh, the deep, deep love of." So those first six notes are all quarter notes. A half note, if you go all the way to the very end of that first line, on all parts you've got a half note, and a half note is just two quarter notes. So it's just fractions. So all it means is you're going to hold it for twice as long as a quarter note. So, "Oh, the deep, deep." And then when you get to the half note, you're going to hold it boundless, free. You're going to do two quarter notes. So that's how tapping your foot or slapping your thigh with the quarter note is helpful to kind of if you're confused about how long to hold something. A eighth note, and this has a lot of triplets, which I was going to explain that. While I jump to triplets, so a triplet is kind of a weird thing where you've got three quarter notes that you sing. You kind of divide in its own way, and so so you do that da da da. How many beats is that technically? It's one beat. 1.5. Is it 1.5? We got debate behind you. Triplets are supposed to be 1. I think she's right about that. Oh, the deep. Yeah, she's right. A triplet. Yeah, you're right. It looks like it's supposed to be 1.5, right? If we're doing, because it's 3/8 notes, right? So it looks like it's supposed to be 1 and whatever. It's supposed to be 3/8 of a note, but it's actually you take one note and divide it into 3. So that's the only weird one. But you'll notice that on this one, it puts that little 3 above all of the triplets. And so that tells you not to sing that like 3/8 notes, but to sing it as a triplet. So, "Oh, the deep, deep." So we're hitting 1, 2, 3. "Oh, the deep." But on the we're doing 3 notes. "Oh, the deep, deep." But it's still saying at that same time, "Oh, the deep, deep." Another thing about triplets and about any time it's called a slur. You'll see that on different pages. Like if you go to 417, you'll see a bunch of is that what's called, the slur that ties the two notes together? The little arc across the top. A slur? Is that what it's called? The arc? Yes, we got a yes. Thank you. So that's just telling you you're singing the same, basically in the same breath, you're bridging two notes. So if we go back to "Oh, the deep, deep love," that triplet, the difficult thing about a triplet is trying to make it sound like a triplet versus you're going to be tempted to go, "Oh, the deep, deep." And that loses the beauty of that triplet. So one thing that maybe is a trick to incorporate when you're singing a song like this is to add an H, just kind of a little breath, almost an H on each of those notes. So instead of "Oh, the deep," you can go "Oh, the deep, deep," and you don't want to get overkill on that or it doesn't sound good either. But "Oh, the deep," and that's where again the diaphragm comes into play because you can give it a little You can give it a little push on each of those three. Oh, the deep, deep love of Jesus. So there's a little something about triplets. And then a dotted note. So a dotted note is just another half of whatever that note is. So if you've got a whole note, a whole note is 4 beats. So a quarter note is a quarter. A half is 2 quarters, and then a whole is 4 quarters. And if you were to add a dot to the end of a whole note, you get basically 5 quarters. 6. Sure, that's right. That's right. Thank you. That's good. Yeah. So if you see a dot, you're throwing another half of whatever the duration is on that note. So that's just a little bit about what the notes mean. I don't, this isn't obviously there's not going to be a test. This is hopefully just something that you can kind of file away and remember as we're working through stuff. Okay, one other thing I was going to point out before we started singing is some tools that you could add at home if you're not a skilled sight reading pianist or other play another instrument. Some tools for kind of lay people like us. So I've got an app on my phone called Sing Your Part. I think it was $5. I don't even know who puts this thing out. But they've taken the Contus, this version and the old version, and they might have some other ones in here now. But they've put in each of them all 4 parts for a ton of the Contus. They haven't gotten their way through all 700 whatever, but they're adding to it, so it updates regularly. So I can go on this app and search Contus Christi, and let's see if "Oh, the Deep, Deep Love" is in here, since that was the example we were giving. Doesn't look like it is. So why don't we do... Oh, no, it is. So I just searched deep. I've got it pulled up here. It's got soprano, alto, tenor, bass, and tempo, so I can speed it up or slow it down if I'm trying to learn it. And it basically just plays through it once. So, like right now, I've got the soprano pulled all the way up, and I've got all the rest of them kind of pretty low, right? So when I hit play, I'll hold this up to my mic. So you mostly just hear the soprano, which is the lead part, right, of the song. But then if I want to learn the tenor, I could pull the tenor up and maybe pull the soprano down a little bit, and I'll hear the tenor part. And you can kind of, on the fly, I just turn the soprano back up. So when it's all up, it sounds like the piano sounds, right? This is what Eliana's playing when she's leading. But the nice thing is if you're a bass and you're trying to learn "Oh, the Deep, Deep Love," you might throw the bass up there. So this is, I think, a really handy little tool. If we send out the email of what songs we're singing on a Sunday and one's not familiar to you, or you want to, I love to hear more people singing parts. I think the beautiful thing about singing parts is it's almost like somebody knew that human beings have different voices and don't all have voices that are designed to sing the exact same way. So it's really cool as a man for there to be a part that's lower than the lady's part, but there's a part for guys like me that don't have a super deep voice, and it's the tenor line. So I can sing these. I've got a tenor voice, which means I've got a higher voice. I can hit higher notes, and I can't really hit super low notes. So there's a part in the song that's designed for me. There's some of you guys who have deep voices, and you're going to find that you can actually sing the bass part. It's going to sound good and it's going to feel good. And it's going to actually enhance the song for all the rest of us if you're singing that part. So it's a Trinitarian, I believe, a way to sort of reflect unity and diversity of humanity, and this reflects God, who is also one in many. And so I'd encourage you to get something like Sing Your Part. Another thing I do, if you were to open the voice memos on my phone, I do this all the time, where I'll know the melody, but I've never worked on the tenor, and so I'll grab a. Yeah, this is embarrassing. No, this is me and the family singing. But I'll grab I'll grab my phone and I'll just record the melody, and then I'll play it back and sing and try to figure out the tenor, as I'm singing along. My family laughs at me when I'm sitting over in the corner with my phone, but anyway, it's a handy tool if you don't have another way to do it. But Sing Your Part's great. I know Canon Press also has a set of CDs that we bought years ago that have maybe 20 songs on it, and they've got, I think they set it up to where what's it called? Worship in Harmony. And it's kind of cool because if you put it in your car, that's kind of what they designed it for. If you put it in your car, if you put your fade, if you put everything balanced, it plays all four parts and all four speakers. But if you fade it to the left and the front, you get just the tenor, and you go, So, and I've even seen as a demonstration, I think when they came out with it, they took four speakers and they put them in different parts of the room, and people could stand by their speaker and hear their part. So anyway, that's another handy little tool. We play those in the car. Bethany, would grab them in the car and just play, crank up the alto part so she could learn her part. So great. There's all kinds of great tools out there. The biggest thing I'd say is just practice. There's really no substitute for, just like anything, there's really no substitute for practice. You're going to get better at singing if you practice. And if your only singing is once a week at church, that's better. You're doing better than a lot of folks. But sing at home, sing with your family, sing in the car, sing in the shower. Just use your voice, and it'll get more comfortable. You'll get more skillful at it. So that's my lesson on music. Practical tips. So I thought what we do with the balance of our time, which is about, what is it? Should I be done by 10:15? Okay, so we have 15 minutes. I've got a big list here of songs that I'd like to learn. Why don't we start with "Oh, the Deep, Deep Love of Jesus"? My son Micah asks me every week, "Dad, when are we going to start singing 'Oh, the Deep, Deep Love of Jesus'?" So this is your day, Micah. Yeah, let's stand. Posture matters. So, like I was saying earlier, there's all these triplets throughout this song. So if you can, try to think about singing those triplets and not necessarily just kind of rolling through them. So I will. Does everyone know the song? Okay. All right. I don't need to sing through it. We'll just sing it. Oh, the deep, deep love of Jesus, vast, unmeasured, boundless, free, rolling as a mighty ocean, His fullness over me, underneath me, all around me, is the current of thy love, leading onward, leading homeward, to thy glorious rest above. Oh, the deep, deep love of Jesus, spreadeth praise from shore to shore. How he loveth, ever loveth, changeth never, nevermore.
Hey, Larson.
Yes, question. Yeah, I was going to open up for questions. Sorry.
So it's difficult, right? So I know that song.
Yep.
But I have no idea how it goes in the bass or tenor. Like I could read it.
Yeah.
But it's completely unfamiliar to me.
Yep.
It's hard to unwire, I guess.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, totally. And I'm not great at this. Some people are at being able to pick up their part when the piano's playing it. So I'm not really good at that. I can't really, typically if I'm not familiar with the song and the part, I just can't hear it. Once I've learned it and practiced it a few times, I can better. But I mean, the only real tip for that is practice. Eventually it gets hardwired in there. The other thing is to, if at all possible, if there's somebody in your family that sings the tenor, sit next to them. Like if you're wanting to order the bass, sit next to them. In choirs, you divide up into your parts, and it makes it so much easier to sing your part when you're sitting next to some people that sing the part. So that's kind of hard to engineer on a Sunday morning, but that's why I'd say a tool like Sing Your Part, you just shove it in your ear, and while you're singing together, and hear your part. The other thing you can do is stick a finger in your ear, and you can actually hear your own voice in your head louder. So that's another thing. If it helps you keep your place, just stick a finger in your ear, and you can kind of hear yourself. Well, I mean, if you put both in there, you can really hear yourself. So that's something I do sometimes. If I know the part, but I'm not sure if I'm hitting it, I can put a finger in my ear and just kind of hear myself a little better. So I hope that helps. Any other questions about that song? Yeah.
Well, actually, just kind of on that. I don't think that app's actually available on Android. Just let people know. It's
okay. It's on that. And I think there's another one. I don't know if any of you guys know it.
One that's supposed to be for Android. I think they may be working on it, but I don't think it's available yet.
Somebody mentioned another one that's got a different name. I'll ask around and see if I can find it, and maybe send an email out. But I know there's another one. Okay. Why don't we sing? Let Israel now sing and thank us. Have we sung this in church? Psalm 124, page 239. So I'm kind of like, I've got 50 or 60 songs dog-eared in my book that songs I hope to eventually learn together with you guys. And this is dog-eared. If it's not familiar, I can sing through it real quick so you guys can just pick up the tune. Like this. Let Israel now say in thankfulness that if the Lord had on the right maintained, and if the Lord had not with us remained, when cruel men against us rose to strive, we surely have been swallowed up alive. Do you love that about the songs? You just sing stuff that's like, I've never sung anything like this before. You be swallowed up alive. That's not in your typical. Anyway, I love it. Alright, let's try it. Let Israel now say in thankfulness that if the Lord had not right maintained, and if the Lord had not with us remained, when cruel men against us rose to strive, we surely have been swallowed up alive. Yea, when their wrath against us fiercely rose, then would the tide o'er us have spread its way. The raging stream would have become our grave. The surging flood in from its flowing roll, no surely would have overwhelmed us all. Blessed be the Lord who made us not their prey, as from the fowler's net the bird may flee. So from their broken snare did we go free. Our only help is in God's holy name. over to page 83, As the Heart, about to falter. Psalm 42. Who knows what a heart is? Spelled H-A-R-T. Kids? Does anybody know what a heart is? It's a deer. I always thought it was weird when I heard this song, like, why are we singing about deer? But no, we're singing about, what page did I say that was on? 83. Sorry. We're singing about a deer. The Baptist version, I still remember how's it go? Anyway, deer. Anyway, I remember the old Baptist song I used to sing that. Okay. Do we know this one? Should I give it about once through? Be helpful? Okay. See some nodding heads. This is a good one. This is a great one. As the heart about to falter in its trembling agony, longs for flowing streams of water, so, God, I long for Thee. Yes, I thirst for Thee, I cry. God of life, oh, when shall I come again to stand before Thee in my temple and adore Thee? Bitter tears of lamentation are my food by night and day. In my deep humiliation, where is now your God, they say? Oh, my soul, pour out in me, when I bring to memory all the throngs I would assemble, shouting praises in thy temple. Oh, my soul, why are you grieving? Why disquieted in me? Hope in God your faith retrieving. He will still your refuge be. I again shall want His grace, for the comfort of His face. He will show His help and favor, for He is my God and Savior. We'll stop there. Thank you guys, that's great. I just want to keep going. It's a long song, I want to do some more. Because we're almost out of time. It's a great song though, right? It's a beautiful song. We'll work that one into rotation. I'm going to try this one. It's on 119. I just think this is a beautiful song. And if you're familiar with, it's a Thomas Tallis tune. If you've watched, is it Master and Commander, the one that's on the ship with Russell and whatever his name is? This tune is in there. It's all over it. And Ralph Vaughan Williams, he's not cited here, but I'm always certain that the harmonies are called Ralph Vaughan Williams. But Ralph Vaughan Williams did a whole symphony on this that's themes on, anyway, he riffs basically on this, and it's just gorgeous. But it's got this almost like Eastern vibe to it. It's just really pretty. It's kind of Eastern Arabian almost kind of vibe to it. I'll sing through it once just so you guys can hear it, because it's kind of weird, but it's really, really cool. Oh Lord my God, most earnestly I seek your holy face, within your house again to see the glories of your grace. Apart from you I long and thirst, and naught can satisfy. I wander in a desert land where all the streams are dry. Isn't that cool? Alright, let's sing it. Oh Lord my God, most earnestly glories of your grace. Apart from you, I long and thirst, and not am satisfied. I wander in a desert land where all the streams are dry. The loving kindness of my God is more than life to me. So I will praise you all my days and pray continually. In you my soul is satisfied. My darkness turns to light, and joyful meditations fill the watches of the night. Beneath the shadow of your wings, I sing my joy and praise. Your right hand is my strong support through troubled nights and days. How those who sing my life will fall. My life is in your hand. The King and people will rejoice in victory. They will stand. Amen. All right, well, we're at the time limit. I've got another 15 songs on here, so I guess we're not going to get to all of these. But I hope that was somewhat helpful, just kind of getting a little bit of a foundation on and tips and tricks for your own singing at home. And let me know if you have any questions, if there's anything else I can help with. All right, we'll be dismissed, and then we'll get church going here in about 15 minutes. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. If you want to find out more, check out our website at trinityreformedkirk.com. That's trinityreformedkirk.com.